Welcome to Lecture 22, where we will go over your introduction to concepts in ecology. Ecology helps determine what factors, biotic and abiotic, influence where an organism lives. These factors can include climate, light availability, as well as nutrient availability. The climate is the strongest driving factor to determining where terrestrial organisms live, while light and nutrient availability is the main driving factors altering where aquatic organisms live. In addition to these factors, processes such as dispersal, as well as species interactions and individual interactions, will also affect where species distribute themselves. Ecology is termed as the study of an organism and its environment. There are many different branches within the field of ecology. These include organismal ecology, which is the study of an organism's physiology and behavior within its environment; population ecology, which examines the factors that affect different populations; community ecology, which studies species interactions and their effect on communities and populations; ecosystem ecology, that studies energy and chemical flow between the organisms and their corresponding environment; landscape ecology, which focuses on the factors that influence exchange of energy, materials, chemicals, as well as organisms across multiple ecosystems; and global ecology, which focuses on how regional processes affect ecosystems and organisms across the entire biosphere. Climate plays an absolute crucial role in determining the distribution of species on Earth. Climate depends on four main factors: temperature, precipitation, sunlight, and wind. Large-scale global climate patterns depend on solar energy or solar input, as well as the Earth's position in space, while on the smaller scale, regional and local climate patterns can be moderated by seasons, bodies of water, mountains, and other landscape effects. We're first going to take a look at global climate patterns. The Earth's shape, tilt, and position around the sun will affect the intensity of the incoming sunlight. Higher and lower latitudes have more diffuse light, as can be seen on the diagram to the right. The tropics, on the other hand, have more direct light. Intense solar radiation at the equator initiates a global air circulation pattern, as well as increases the amount of precipitation in those areas. Evaporative loss from much of the vegetation that occurs in the tropics causes warm and humid air to rise. This air on a global landscape will move towards the poles. The opposite happens as cooler, drier air from the poles circulate down towards the equator. Areas such as New York experience seasonal cycles. Seasonal cycles are also experienced across the board at mid to high latitudes. Seasonal changes occur as the Earth's tilt changes during its rotation around the sun. This can cause cyclical climate changes. Not all regions, such as the tropics, or Australia for instance, has complete 4 seasons. These changes can also affect ocean and wind currents as well as precipitation levels, thus influencing the climate on a regional scale. Specifically, the upwelling of colder, deeper water during different seasons, such as spring and fall, can make nutrients available. This is very important during those times as it stimulates phytoplankton growth and helps to supply and recycle nutrients into the aquatic food chains. Though there are only a few regions where this upwelling in oceans occurs, these areas actually account for more than 25% of the global fish catch, thus emphasizing their importance in the global aquatic food chain. The presence of bodies of water can also influence regional climate patterns. Ocean currents can cool and warm air masses. In addition, large bodies of water that are close to land, such as oceans and lakes, can moderate temperatures in the surrounding land. Mountains, for instance, can also cool and dry air, as along the windward side of the mountain, cool air will flow over the land and get warmed. As the air passes up the mountain range, this will create a rain shadow effect on the leeward side of the mountain. This occurs as the air warms and absorbs moisture. This can also affect the amount of sunlight and rain reaching the surrounding areas. For example, a simple 1,000 meter increase in elevation can have a very significant 6 degrees centigrade drop in temperature. Vegetation is also important in determining climate patterns. Though forested regions tend to be darker on a global scale and thus absorb more solar radiation, they also tend to cool the Earth's surface. This is due to their high rates of evaporative cooling. This also serves to increase precipitation rates and cooling within those regions. Take a look at the diagram below to understand these processes in both forested lands as well as deforested land surfaces. Deforestation in general leads to hotter, drier climates. This can also be considered detrimental to the surrounding ecosystems. Now that we've discussed global climates as well as regional climates, we will now focus on local climates. Environmental features that occur at the local level can create unique microclimates. This is due to patterns of shade, alterations in evaporative cooling patterns, as well as changing wind patterns. Biotic as well as abiotic factors, living and non-living factors respectively, can also play a role in altering species distribution patterns. Abiotic factors include factors such as pH, temperature, light, water, and availability of nutrients. Biotic factors include factors that involve other organisms, such as interactions with plants, animals, as well as insects. Global climate change is primarily caused by the use of fossil fuels, increasing the carbon dioxide in the environment, as well as deforestation. These two factors lead to an overall change in the global climate patterns. Some areas may experience more extreme temperatures, such as they may get hotter as well as colder. We also see a general increase in the extreme weather events, as well as a shift in wind and precipitation patterns. Note that global climate change does not always lead to a warming of certain locations. Rather, it is the overall change in the typical climate patterns that exist within those regions. Some may get hotter as well as some may get colder. The overall shift that climate change causes in species distribution patterns can also restrict their ranges should resources become more limited. An important thing to note is that global climate change is occurring at a very fast rate. Many species will not be able to adapt to these changes quickly enough. As a result, they may become extinct. Though some species may increase their range or may be well adapted to withstanding these changes due to climate change, this is not the case for all species.